Kevin partner Jim would have loved to have been there this trip, but as you notice, he was kind of limping on that last trip as he ended up, so he's not able to make it, but that doesn't mean I can't, start to give him a hard time. And I eat my cinnamon roll. Eat your heart out, Jim. Finishing the last of the coffee and the last 2 of your sweet rolls. You're not here to eat them, so maybe next time. I'm going to use the excuse that I need the calories because I'm grabbing the chainsaw and I'm going to head down that south trail that I walked the other day that I mentioned. I want to get back to that trail and get that stuff cut off. And nice and hard and frozen and no snow, so I get finished up here, grabbing my chainsaw and hitting the trail. Yeah, it's a beautiful day. I think it's just above freezing. The sun's shining pretty good, and I'm headed out to clean up a trail that I walked the other day, and it was enough trees and trash on it that I didn't even want to think about going through again with just shoes, much less having a pair of skis on. This is a little minor here. We can take care of this before we move on. That was easy. That was all stuff was snapped off probably in that wet snowstorm that Jim endured this fall. I just threw it off the trail. Never even had to start the saw up. Well, we had that nice open area back there that I talked to the previous deer hunters that had the property, and they said that trail looked just like that when they came, and they called it the cat run, meaning that a bulldozer had run down it to make an access road to haul timber out of the swamps. But here now we're just back into one of my homemade trails between the trees and over the roots, and we got a little project ahead where we end up coming up on the old ancient beaver dam, and we need to do some work there because some of the trees are falling over. Now this is what I need to get cleaned up a little bit. That'll be easy to lop that branch off across there, but as we get right up here, these cedar trees have, under the weight of many snows, have kind of, well, with the wind and the snow, they kind of ripped out of the ground. Now they're laying across my path. I usually don't walk on that water. You see the ice and the snow out there. I say this is an ancient beaver dam. The age of these trees on here, 100 years old. You can tell it's a long time ago that it happened. But they took the soil and pushed it up onto this berm. And because there's water flowing out there most of the time, I'm very cautious about walking on it unless I test it pretty good first. And I need to whack these cedars now and fill in a few holes here, because I know that like down here in these water holes, like between the tree roots, it's like 3 feet deep sometimes when I checked it. So I'll take the time and throw some cedars over the hole so I can walk through here in the summertime. Well, now that bridge is built, we can just wait for somebody to come by in maybe 50 or 100 years. This is white cedar, so it'll last a long time sitting up off the ground like that. And they can just puzzle about, how did a beaver do that? When I'm back up here just after Christmas next time, I'm going to come down in here, and even though there's no deer in this area at all right now, if the weather gets tough, they'll move into these white cedars, and the reason they come is to chow down on this white cedar when all the other good stuff is gone. They'll think they came across a feast when they find this pile just laying there on the ground for them. Unless there's an awful lot of snow. This trail right in this stretch here is just way too rough to ski. Well, you can get through here, but it's kind of a brute. But I see that cedar's falling over the trail. Maybe if I cut a few branches up here and lay them in, I can make it so a guy can ski through without breaking anything. We get some snow on top of that. The deer walk by and pack it all down. And it's going to make it a lot nicer even in the summertime, but I think I could Wouldn't mind going through there with my skis, do a few steps around the corner, because I know there's only a few spots like that, and then this would be a good trail. And a short ways away, here's a little more wood to help out in the project. Pretty smooth underneath this log, so no need to fill in, but I'm sure there'll be a spot nearby that could use a little fill. This trail that I'm clearing this morning, it was part of, we had an early loop that we called the Tour of Homes, because it went by several old cabin homesteads. I mean, all there was just a few of them got walls, but mostly it was just a perimeter you would find out in the woods. But as we did it, we laid it out and we were coming by those, so we just called this as a joke the Tour of Homes. Well, in later years, then we got a nice straight path cut over to the cabin from the higher ground, and we don't use this as much, but it's always been, I've always enjoyed coming down in here because there's a lot of varied habitat. Here now we're on a little crown island, and it must have been bare at one time, and these balsam trees aren't that old. Oh, I got a gray jay over my shoulder. I think the progeny from my cabin's got this wood pretty well saturated with semi-tame birds. Well, anyway, my old friend Tim and I, back before GPSs, I might have mentioned this before, but we knew about over there, and we knew about what we called that cat run back there, but there was nothing in between. So 1:30 below morning, he went down this way, and I went around the other way, and at our predetermined time, we yelled at each other, and we took some compass points, so I knew what I had to do, and I came by later, and I just worked my way through and kind of found the best way to wind. We don't cut anything, we don't have to, but we just go between the trees. It's not like for snowmobiles or anything like that. It's just a matter of us being able to walk out here and enjoy our day. So it's an old favorite, and it needed a little freshening up. Yeah, we've already gone through a tank of fuel. I think I gotta see what I can do here. Here you go. Come on. Anyway, time to refuel, re-oil. I think we're by the worst of it now. Should be pretty good shape. Sure gonna be nice to have it cleaned up again, though. I don't like going out and coming back the same way. I love to have a loop trail, and this one works out that if you take this loop, you got a minimum of a 2-mile loop, so really a nice morning or evening walk. And as the years go by, I haven't been doing those 10-milers anymore. I'm trying to keep these trails closer to the cabin, a little cleaner, a little nicer for us. Still keeps me plenty busy, though. As I was putting my pack away just now, I picked the pack up and I saw the scrinch laying here on the snow. I talked about people, sending me things. This was a really nice gift from a man that appreciated the videos. He certainly knew what he was doing. He gave me those orange wedges. One thing here, that he painted this scrinch orange, and it makes it so much easier to find out in the woods and realize it's there before you walk away from it. When I first laid this trail out, we had to go through a lot of deep cedar to start with. And then I came up on this island that we just crossed. Now, as you can see, it's not much elevation change, but we dropped down a little bit. Sometimes I find old trails that I can take advantage of, and this particular here, if we look straight ahead, that's an old ice road. Back when they hauled timber in the wintertime with the horses. Pretty rough, and it's wet. Of course, that probably made it easier for them to keep an ice road if it was low and flat and had water readily available. You can see it's pretty rough down there, but I utilized the opening to just cut the brush off the side, and then as soon as I got to the next island, I popped up on that. Well, I have a new friend. I think so. Hey, old friend, why don't you come down here? I'll give you some snack. I got a little almond joy snack for myself. You like this brownie Cliff Bar? It's kind of, not many people like them, but apparently you're doing okay. Why don't we sit here and have a snack and just reminisce about the old horses and teams that would have been using this trail decades ago. It was rough work back then. Head out in the morning with axes and big cross-cut saws and cut timber, and when I hear they have a good breakfast before they went, in the middle of the morning the guy would bring out on a sleigh, he'd bring out tea and some more food. Maybe about 2 in the afternoon he'd come back and do it again, because those guys were burning so much calories they really had to eat. As I always said, the most important man in the logging camp was the cook, because if you didn't have a good cook, you weren't going to keep your men. Well, I don't have tea and biscuits or whatever they brought, but I got a little mini almond joy. Looking back behind me, which is down the trail, I don't see anything more, and I'm coming up onto high ground, and so I think this is going to be our last tree to cut on this part of the trail. Now, you may be thinking, why did he mess up? Look at that crooked cut. Well, the log fell away a little bit, but the reason you make a cut like that when you're clearing these trails is because now you roll it into the opening. If we try to cut it straight down, there's so much friction, you fight it. But if you make that cut, roll it into all the open space, work smarter. This is the best remnant on our tour of Holmes Trail. This is Newt's Homestead that was used as a homestead, and I think it was definitely used as a logging camp base for a few winters. I spent a lot of time over here, so got this bench. I used to keep it painted black so that the snow would melt off faster, but I see that the snow was melted. Maybe the seat's a little bit damp, but that was made to flip over to have a dry side, so I think I'm going to take advantage of my past endeavors and sit down here and enjoy this sunshine. Checking my goodies here and see if the Canada J ate all of my Cliff Bar. I don't think he did. Oh yeah, here it is. Like I said, This is the Bar Brownie. Yeah, I really like it for trail food because it keeps me going. I'm going to say that it's pretty low in sugar. I don't have any trouble with that when I eat these, and they can power me for about 3 hours of work sometime. And one thing is, you don't have to worry about anybody else eating these because they're not many people like Bar Brownie as far as high flavor. It's just a good energy bar. I said we're here at Newt's place. It's always been kind of interesting trying to figure this operation out. That log wall you saw there. Everett, an old friend, pointed out one day when he was back here that cabin was never finished. There was never really a door in there. And so it made sense. There was a tree growing in it that I'd cut down, and I knew that tree had started growing in 1935, and that worked out with the fact that I found out later that Newt died in about 1932. But then Drone Man David was doing some digging in at the courthouse, and he came up with when Newt's estate was settled. And one thing it mentioned in there that Newt went by 3 names. I know one of them was Newt. Another one was Olaf. Well, that was strange enough, but then when I came up the other day, I stopped at a man in town that he wanted to talk the local history out here, and he had a bunch of information on this particular plot of land. And this piece right here, Newt, when he homesteaded, he took 160 acres. He took 3/40 east to west, and one going north. He picked out all the best timber on this high ridge, and he didn't take any swamp ground. Well, then in this information that this guy had, it showed that Newt had sold the land where my cabin was to Olaf in 1920. I don't know what kind of a thing he had going on there, but come to find out when they settled the estate, it's shown in there that Newt and Olaf were the same man, and there was no reference to Olaf owning that land in 1936 when somebody came in and finally got the estate settled up. So I'm going to turn that over to the history guy there in town that clued me into this, and maybe we can get it figured out sometime. But why a guy needed 3 names, I don't know. Something tells me I better start bringing a stack of pancakes with me whenever I come out in the woods. That'd be a good idea. Whose child are you? I'm out of food. Sorry. I just didn't bring much. Well, the sun has made its arc just above the treetops on the south. Starting to cool off just a hair, but the snow is melting. What can I say? I got no food. You gonna follow you back to the camp? I think my locals will run you off. You probably grew up there and they ran you out, didn't they? Ready for the next batch. the way it works around here. Nice to see you out here, though. I'll be back. Next time I'll bring you a pancake, okay? That all right? Not this time. Next time.